Good morning. Is it a good morning? We're going to talk. Here's what happened. Let me just settle in real quick. Last night, I finished The Door by Magda Szabo. And I think that, it was, recommended by a lot of people that I'm inspired by on Book Talk. Translated works in general are, mystifying to me in a certain way because it's just cool. I'm getting access to a book that's written in a language that I unfortunately won't learn, can't learn, or even if I do, I'll never get to that level of comprehension to read literature essentially. So, in general, translated works are just really fascinating to me. And I think this is the first book that I've ever read by a Hungarian author. I can't even think of. I have never read a book by a Hungarian author. So, there's that. Anyway, I finished The Door last night to not much fanfare, of course. And it got me thinking about the third episode of Not Going to Read. Welcome, by the way, to the third episode of Not Gonna Read. I was like, I immediately have to talk about The Door because I'm going to maybe not willingly, but my brain was it was under so much pressure during the entire experience that I knew that if I didn't talk about The Door immediately, I'm gonna forget about all of the things that I was feeling, all of the things that I was thinking about. So I was like, okay, so if I'm gonna talk about The Door, there were a couple other things that I wanted to talk about in other episodes. And I guess that I'm sensing a theme here with these videos. I'm sensing it's starting to kind of come together for me about what kind of episodes these are going to be, which is really cool, right? I'm coming into my own of what books I want to talk about and why. And so the theme is themes. As you might have noticed in the last episode, I talked about 3 books that were that all kind of had the same or similar premises. They all happened in countries that the author was connected to, which I just love when that happens. So yeah, I was like, oh, that was the theme of last episode. What is this episode's theme going to be? And because I was like, I have to talk about The Door today, and The Door really fucked me up. So today's episode is going to be about books that fucked me up. I don't even it's one of those kinds of, it's one of those feelings where you're still not fully out of it, or I guess you're so fully out of it, you're like, So you can't even begin to you can't even fully begin to give language to the way that your heart and your lungs were constricted at the time of reading. So let's see. I guess, yeah, let me just bring up The Door. I read it on Libby, and I quickly realized it's one of those books that I need to have on my bookshelf. I really do think that it kind of demands a space in your life. And now I'm just is that Emirates talking? Or is that how I feel? Is that how I'm thinking that Emirates would feel if she heard me talking? This book, it was stunning and difficult. I cannot remember the last time I met a character that was so vividly crass, defiant, graceful, generous, frustrating, and beautiful in all of her complexity. Every chapter made my heart swell. It made my stomach come out of my mouth. And even trying to start to begin to explain the premise is difficult because it's not really a story about anything. It's not really, the plot is simple and uncomplicated. The foundation is straightforward. A happens, so then B needs to happen. But what I would say So I guess like when I'm talking about the part of how much it fucked me up, the way in which the author showed us the capacity for love and commitment and respect and sense of entitlement that you can have towards someone, it was just like magnanimous and such a simple way. And for both of the main characters, first of all, we don't even find out the name of the second main character, the narrator, until like the very end, which I just thought was really brilliant because she was a main character, but she was not the star of the show. And that was very evident throughout the book. And then then it's like there, you know. There were so many parallels to either be drawn or I just drew them, whatever. The reason that the dog was named Viola. You know, 9 cats, 9 cats. And I don't even think that the author sees them all. Or she does. She's seen them once briefly, which then, you know, like that whole connection. What did I say? What was I thinking about? How Emerence doesn't let anyone inside her house ever, but she lets the author inside once. Like, even thinking about it is fucking me up. Like, even thinking, oh my God. We get a snapshot of their relationship over a period of 20 years, right? And like, Emerence is like outwardly complex. She is extremely outspoken. She's very set in her ways. She's very rigid about the certain decisions that she's made and why she's made them and how she's never going to deviate from them. And the author, the narrator, is also extremely complex, but we don't we don't hear that from anyone except Emerence. I just like a lot of the connections really messed with me. They really, really messed with me. Viola like never barks again after that thing happens. The husband being the voice of reason at the end. I was like, where were you like this whole time? Clearly in the back observing. Oh my God. And how she had saved everything, all the stuff that she saved for the author, and how all of it turns to dust. Like, just like the metaphorical lyricism. I've never read anything like this. To write about a character's complexity, or to show a character's complexity is one thing, but then to deep dive into that complexity with such precision and illumination to the point where the reader, me, I was like this bitch is crazy, but I get it. She is petty as fuck, but I get it. She is angry, but I get it. She's unreasonable, but I get it. How did she do that? How did Magda Szabo do that? Like, and it's not like at any point I wasn't frustrated by her. It's not like it's not like I didn't have moments where I was like, all right, okay, just relax, like just chill out, you know? I thought it was beautiful how a certain characteristic of Emerence's would be explained earlier on in the book. And then like the book is just going on and on and on. And then it's revealed much later why that characteristic exists. When I tell you like the connections fucked me up, like I'm so serious. The connections were probably the bread and butter of this book, because the way that these issues were presented, it was like such an offhand way. It was received as such a like, okay, that's weird, but whatever. And then when you realize later on what, how, why, when, where, it stays with you. And I think that that's also one of the parts that was beautiful about the progression of the story, is how the author, you see the narrator herself getting so entangled and getting so affected by all these connections. It is such a heavy burden for her that she collapses mentally, emotionally, physically. She makes such poor judgments, even though she has all the information. She has all the information, and despite that, she makes a choice that she shouldn't have. And you see it, it's a train wreck. You're like, oh, fuck. Here's a live shot of me reading. Here's a bit of video of me reading like towards the end of the book. I was stressed, y'all. I was unwell. So yeah, it was extremely powerful. It's a very difficult read. I feel like the story is like seared into my brain. Like cats. I keep thinking about the cats. And there's also like this illusion of mystery attached to everything about Emirates. Like there's a gigantic safe inside the house, but it's filled with ceramic mugs. She talks about how she acquired some of the cats and then trails off by saying, and then the others just kept coming or just kept happening. And then it begs the question, why did she stop at 9? Why didn't she just keep going? When she explains to the author slash narrator, the cats only know me and Viola. They don't know anyone else. And I was like, oh, so you're the cats. No one knows you. Got it. Just like the level of disappointment I felt. It's like too much to bear almost. They didn't do right by each other in so many ways, but I don't think that the consequences of not doing right by each other was very uneven. I truly believe that one suffered more than the other. That too, like in part because she wouldn't admit it. So it makes it even more painful. Like her pride is too much. The pride that she has in her legacy is too great. And so she's never going to admit that what happened was unfair. What happened was undignified. What happened, even all of the stories that she tells throughout the book of like, oh yeah, this thing happened and this piece of shit ran away with my money, but who cares? It's so nonchalant. Like every bad thing that's happened to her or because of her or around her, whatever, she just takes all of it in stride to the point where you have to wonder, like hello, is anyone even in there? Do you even feel things? And then you see, like, yeah, she does. It's all like horrible things. All of the things that she feels are horrible. And then how it's contrasted with the way that she lives her life and how the entire fucking street depends on her without even knowing it. The way that the entire community is so reliant on her as a person, on her personality, on her generosity. It's remarkable. Like the part where the author is talking to the priest or whatever, and she's like, I've seen a lot of Christians who go to church and talk the talk, but I have never seen or met anyone like Emirates who does not go to church and who denounces any and every kind of organized religious event or belief, but she lives it. People call themselves Christian and pretend to be a certain way, but Emirates just is. That was really, really powerful. And one of like the simple truths about life is how, yeah, you can say whatever you want, but if you're not doing the thing, it doesn't really matter. And how that was also contrasted with the author, who does go to church, who does believe in God, who does attend ceremonies and fasts for Lent and all that stuff. But the obvious ways in which she fucks up, you're just kind of like, all right. So how do you think God would feel about you doing that or saying that or thinking that? Very, very beautifully done. Highly recommend. I also recommend taking a couple days off from reading anything until you come to terms with the fact that this story exists now in your memory. Until you come to terms with the fact that, like, this story made you feel the profound complexity of humans and why they do what they do, why they say what they say, why they are the way they are, in a way that you just kind of, I don't know. I feel like I was blindsided by how simple the story was and how like intense the negativity was. Kind of like accepting it's like in an unfortunate way the reality of humanity. I don't know, just kind of is one of those books that shows you a mirror and you're just like, I don't want to see it, but the mirror's just there and it doesn't, like, it goes away for a little bit and then it comes back. Human beings are simple yet tough. Fuck. Okay, next book. You know, I'm gonna talk about paradise. I'm gonna talk about the fact that I have a lot of questions for Toni Morrison. When I catch you, Ricky, Ricky, when I catch you, Ricky, Ricky, when I catch you. Oh boy. How did she do it? How? I don't think there's a point in talking about the plot. This is kind of how I felt about the plot when I started reading it. It was like collecting dust from around me. I would just like, oh, just like a little bit. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, this is what's happening. Oh, this is happening. And then like holding it throughout the story. And then the end is just like all the dust just like falls out of my hands and I'm just like left empty. And even though my hands are empty, like I feel like I gained something. So I don't think that like the plot is convoluted, and it also just, I think there's a lot of questions that are left unanswered on purpose. It was actually difficult for me to get into. Like I started it. I remember starting it a while ago and then I got to, I think I like finished the first chapter. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I mean, any story that starts with they shoot the white girl first, where the fuck are you supposed to go from that? They shoot the white girl first. With the rest, they can take their time. No need to hurry out here. They are 17 miles from a town which has 90 miles between it and any other. Hiding places will be plentiful in the convent, but there is time and the day has just begun. Huh? Excuse me? Yeah, so anyway, that's how the book starts, and you're just like, oh, okay. You know, every chapter from then on kind of offers little nuggets of fucked upness. Pro. The neighbors seemed pleased when the babies smothered, probably because the mint green Cadillac in which they died had annoyed them for some time. The next chapter, Grace. Either the pavement was burning or she had sapphires hidden in her shoes. That imagery, dude! That imagery! What? Divine. Patricia. Consolata. In the good, clean darkness of the cellar, Consolata woke to the wrenching disappointment of not having died the night before. So much of the stuff in this is black and white, but the way that she writes it, you wouldn't know. Like, so much of the way that she talks about certain aspects of a story, or you know, what a character said and why, and what happened, and like what happened because of that conversation. It's just sheer poetry, and staggering in its realizations. I'm kind of glad, but I'm also curious. Okay, here it comes. What if they made this into a movie? What would that movie? I don't know how I would feel about watching something like this. I mean, I'll like do my research and stuff, but I don't know. I would be hard pressed to find if someone hasn't thought about making this into a movie. It hits a lot of parts head on. So, like, what if they made this into a movie? Who would be in it? Whose vision would I be experiencing? Right? Whose version? Whose version would the movie be about? But yeah, there's like so much in here that is just like I don't know how to reconcile this story with the end. I don't know how to reconcile the different puzzle pieces. I don't think they fit. They're just it genuinely it feels like a river that keeps changing course. And like I was like talking about the dust, like I couldn't I loved how I just couldn't grasp it and hold on to it. It was challenging linguistically, it was challenging thematically, it was challenging politically. So yeah, there was a lot. It's just one of those stories that I have questions about, but I'm too afraid to ask because I don't think that they're meant to be answered. And even if they are, I don't think anyone will have the right answer, you know? So it's part of the Beloved trilogy, and I haven't read Beloved or Jazz. And it's so interesting because I'm like, how are these going to connect with the other two? But I'm excited to find out. So, accidentally started with the last one first. The Bluest Eye. I read The Bluest Eye. Fuck, that sucked. But it sucked. It was amazing. I have a lot of Toni Morrison still left to read, so I'm just looking forward to it. She's incredible. She's definitely one of my favorites. All right. Next book. The School for Good Mothers. This isn't a 5-star situation, but there were parts of it that were 5 stars. And that is why I wanted to include it in this series. And I think particularly for people who are mothers, biological or otherwise, it was a very hard pill to swallow. There were parts about the narrative that, like the extreme feelings of the main character, Frida. I don't know. I felt like there was a lot of, in the reviews and stuff, people were like, well, she wasn't really taking any of the blame. She wasn't really like owning up to the part that she played. And like, yeah, I definitely get that. I definitely understand that critique. But I mean, it's obvious to me. I don't know, man. I don't know. I just like the I don't know. She just like it was disproportionate the way that she was treated to the crime that was committed. I don't know. It's just kind of, which I guess like, and it was an extreme. It's an extreme example of it was like an extreme telling of a situation where like what if when a mom slipped up, shit hits the fan, and that happens a lot. Parents, people who are caretakers fuck up a lot because it is hard to do what you're doing, right? And a lot of things you're kind of learning along the way, a lot of things you just haven't really ever done before. So like how are you going to know? So it was like very big brothery in that sense. It was very scary. The dystopian part of it, like the surveillance, the neighbors snitching, you definitely think about, the racial element to it. Would this have happened if she was a white woman? Would people have been like harsh and extreme in their judgment and in the it kind of hits home, I guess, that way. And of course, like, especially right now, with all the conversation regarding the state's involvement in women's bodies, the government's involvement in women's bodies and autonomy, it's kind of very much like at the forefront. The ending was It was something. I think because everything else was so extreme, I feel like the ending also kind of had to be extreme. So I was like, no, but also I get it because like you're never going to like this is a forever sort of situation. Like this is, kind of also commentary on how once you're in the system, you're in the system. And the chances of getting swept up in anything that has to do with going against the grain of what you're supposed to be like as a mother, like those chances are astronomically higher. So she's just like, homegirl's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not a mom. So I cannot imagine what it must have felt like to read this as a mother. So in that sense, like it was powerful because it was like, okay, there's a lot of obviously commentary on the political climate, on how the scrutiny that you're always going to unsolicitedly receive as a woman, on top of that a mother, on top of that a woman of color as a mother is always going to be higher than your white counterparts. So yeah, in that sense this was it's a pretty intense read. uh Last book I want to talk about. What happened? How did he? I think the reason that this worked for me is because I read it as a fever dream. The world building of Cyrus Shumps is so. It was like watching a spider making its web, watching him connect the dots, watching him try to make sense of it all, having the same questions as he did. It's what happens when you let a poet write a book. My God. I was like talking to this one woman from book club. There were sentences that were just one word, and you're just kind of like, yo, what? It was daring. It was messy. Of course it was nonlinear. The plot twist kind of, I don't know, it hit me like a freight train. I don't know if anyone else saw it coming, but I did not. I did not. And I think that that's really, it's not easy to do. It is not easy to make your reader like clutch at their gasping breath. I don't think it was a happy read. I wasn't delighted. There were times where I like wanted to shake Cyrus, but more often than not, I wanted to shake myself because I was like, there are so many things about the world that you don't understand. And this book is presenting you just some of those perspectives. And being punched in the face by poetry is an honor. It really is. It's terribly outlandish at times. Like some of the stuff that like some of the chapters, I was just like, what is this? I don't get it. But it's not because I don't want to get it. I don't get it because it's so different than what the book seems to be about. But then what is the book even about? What is he even trying to say? What is even like a lot of it deals with legacy, but I think at some point even he loses that as a plot point. I think at some point he's like, so what's the point? I wanted the ending to mean something, but I know what it actually meant. There's the room that you might have for hope at the end is as big as the eye of a needle. You just want, I think it's just human nature to want positive resolutions after challenging and difficult events in your life. I think it's human to want an end that makes sense. It's human to want good for yourself or for someone you know has like really fucking been through it. But there's like sometimes I don't obviously want to give too much away, but sometimes the resolution that does happen is better in that there really was only one way that this could have ended. There is really only one way that you could have gotten the answers. And it's just like, that's just, I guess, that's just how it has to be for something like that to make sense, even though it goes against like your lizard brain, is incredibly powerful. I don't know which part of the novel I ended up focusing on more. The prose or the plot or the characters or the plot twists or the backdrops or the dream sequences. Which one was my favorite one? I think Rumi and his dad were my favorite. Oh yeah, and then there's like literal poetry in the book. So yeah, I don't know which part I ended up. Yeah, I think Rumi and Ali Shams was my favorite dream sequence. But yeah, I don't know which part I ended up focusing on, and I don't know which part I was supposed to focus on, and I don't know if I was supposed to do anything except to be there. Life is wild. It is wild in ways that we can't even comprehend. It is wild in ways like people are living. Like, there are stories out there. I feel like it creates every story. Like I feel like a new portal opens up in my brain every time I'm like privileged enough to read stories like this. I think reading fucked up stories is very important to stay grounded, to understand fundamentally that there is so much we don't know and so much that we're never going to know, which in turn, hopefully, leads people to keep an open mind about everything, you know, the impact that these stories end up having. I guess like whether or not you remember it, I guess whether or not you believe in it. I think it's hard to deny that anytime from now on till the next time, you know, from now on, anytime someone mentions any of these titles for me, it will transport me back to everything that I felt while I was reading the stories, everything that I learned, everything that I didn't learn, everything that I wanted to happen, and everything I didn't want to happen. And it is very true. Again, whether or not you believe in it or accept it or understand it, it is very true that you change. It's how can you not? To experience gut wrenching emotions, to experience how fragmented and disjointed our true selves are from, I guess, what we aspire. It's harrowing. It like really shakes you. So yeah, I like this. It's it's just it's a crazy realization, but like this stuff is my literary jam. I love. It is human stories that have too many twists and turns and are like full of despair, but the pockets of hope that you feel, like that's the true essence of what it means to be human and why you keep on keeping on. Yeah, I really recommend all of these books. I need to buy The Door like today to just have it on my shelf, and it's going to take me some time to read it again, but is truly like, it is one of those, like, it's truly a work of art. It's anytime I'm able to walk away from a book feeling wrung out, it's an honor and it's a privilege. So I hope the authors know that. I hope they know that what they're doing is not easy, and how they're able to describe very raw emotions in a way that resonates at such a like core level. It's remarkable. It is remarkable. And I feel very, very lucky to be able to experience that. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this episode on fucked up books. And if you have any recommendations, in addition, I would love to hear them. So yeah. Okay.